Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my August book haul video. I am recording this right before I go to DragonCon, so I assume that my September book haul is going to be huge because I'm probably going to buy a bunch of books at DragonCon. However, for August, it was the smallest book haul of the year for me until right before I was going to go to record this video. I went out to check the mail, and a publisher had sent me some books. And so I was like, darn it, it's now a larger book haul, which is, I'm glad for the books from the publisher. But I have 17 books to talk about. But this is the most varied month of a book haul that I think I may have ever had. So I'm really excited to get into all the genres, including some new stuff for me. So let's go ahead and start with some science fiction books that I purchased. I purchased two books from Del Rey from Sylvain Neuvel, I think it's how you say that. It was the book Sleeping Giants and Waking Gods, books 1 and 2 in his Sleeping Giants series. And books 1 and 2 of the Themis Files, or the Themis Files. This is I believe he's Canadian author. He writes for Del Rey, the publisher that's been around for a while in science fiction fantasy. And I first listened to Sylvain talk on a YouTube video for a San Diego Comic-Con authors panel for Del Rey. And I just found him really fascinating, and I've read some of the books from the other authors that were present at that panel. And so I decided, you know what? I saw these at a used bookstore for about just under $4 each. I was like, you know what? These will be fun, quick reads. They're only, I think they're only like 300. Yeah, they're about 300 pages each. About 300 each. So they'll be short reads, but they seem fun. I read the back of the books, and yeah, it seems interesting. So that's science fiction books that I purchased. All right, I also purchased at my used bookstore another Stephen King book, and this is the book Misery. And I've had a few people say that this should be the next one I read, and I actually read the write-up on the book, and I was like, that actually seems really intriguing for me. And it's short, which all the Stephen King books that I think that I would enjoy the most are the really long ones, and I do not want to commit to another long Stephen King book. I want to commit to a short one that I can read and test out again, because right now he's 0 for 2 for me of the ones I've read. So I saw this and was really excited, and I am trying to get a friend of mine to buddy read it, and so I'm going to keep pressuring him about that. But I got Misery, and I plan to read it later this year, and I hope I really enjoy it because I really want to enjoy Stephen King's writing. All right. Next, I purchased some Star Trek books. I purchased The Lost Era, Deny Thy Father, which I bought on ABE Books, a website online that you can buy used books from. And my copy is actually not in the best shape. It's a little tattered and sticky and whatnot. But I purchased this because I'm going to be reviewing this on Literary Treks. The episode's probably not up by the time that this video goes up, but it'll probably be up soon. But we're going to be talking about this part of one of the Lost Era books, focusing on Riker, and we've been working through that series. Now, I've been collecting a Star Trek series, but have not planned to read it until I've collected all the books, and that is the Gateways series. And I purchased another Gateways book, and that is book 6, Cold Wars by Peter David. This one follows like the New Frontier characters, and each Gateways book follows a different set of the main characters for the first 6 books, and then the 7th book is like a short story collection that features all of them. And I own all but 2 of the books in the collection. I need book 2 and I need book 7, and once I purchase those, I will have the full 7 books and I'll be able to start reading it. So I'm excited to get into this series once I finish buying it. All right, this next author is super controversial, but I am always been interested in reading this author. In fact, this is one of the few authors I've DNF'd a book before, and that is Ayn Rand, or Ayn Rand, I don't know how to say it, but Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. So when I was in college, I was reading Terry Goodkind, and I was really interested in some of the ideas of his books, and I had a friend who was a big Terry Goodkind fan, and we both were talking about how he was really influenced by Ayn Rand. And I had been told that in the individualism and the kind of more libertarian sectors, that Ayn Rand was a popular author, and that she had written this famous book, Atlas Shrugged, which I've known about Atlas Shrugged for years from various reasons. And so I tried to pick up a version, and it was a huge trade paperback version. And I tried reading it in college, and I read the first chapter, and I gave up, which, for those of you who don't know, I DNF maybe one book a year or 2 books a year out of the 120 that I read every year. So if I DNF a book, it means it was not working for me at the time. But I was in college and I was already reading a lot of nonfiction stuff, and I was reading some of the harder fiction stuff for my English classes, and I just couldn't get into it then. But I think I might enjoy it now, and so I'm going to try to read it. And I know it's controversial. I know she has controversial opinions. I try to read from everyone across any political or ideological spectrums because I like just reading the fascinating ideas. So I purchased this one. I also purchased 2 books in the City of Ember series. I have book 3, The Prophet of Yonwood, and I have purchased book 4, The Diamond of Darkhold. Now, I absolutely hate these covers. I think these covers look awful. Compared to the ones that I have, I really like the ones for the first 2. The first 2 books, I love those covers. Books 3 and 4, I don't care for the covers, but they were cheap, and that's what was important when I was buying these books, is because I didn't want to spend the money to buy a new copy. So I bought them for really cheap. So I'm excited to get into these. These will be in 2025. I'll plan to read all 3 of the sequels to City of Ember, because I really liked the first City of Ember, and it's one of my best performing videos. As a book review, I should say. As an individual video, no, but as a book review. All right, the last books that I purchased this month are really interesting because they are a manga and a comic volume. So the manga I purchased was One Piece, volumes 4 through 6. And this is an impulse buy. This was, I would not normally buy this, but I am working on something that I'm going to do next year, and it relies on, and it includes reading some manga and some comics. And so One Piece was part of that. So that is one thing I'm doing. I'll announce what I'm doing specifically later on in the year, before we get to 2025. But I purchased this. I purchased it new, which I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd found it used somewhere. But anyway, this is 3 volumes together. I also purchased a comic. And this comic that I purchased is Secret Wars from Marvel. This is, for those of you who don't know, they've done Secret Wars twice. They did it back, I think, in the 80s or 90s. And then they also did it in 2015. And Jonathan Hickman wrote the 2015 version. And from the available evidence that we have, it looks like the movie Secret Wars that they're going to do for the new Avengers movie that comes out in 2027, that's going to be based off this particular comic. In fact, when you look at the back of the comic, it has Doom on it, Dr. Doom. So of course, it makes sense. And when you look at like the type of font they use for this matches the movie and font, and they got Robert Downey Jr. back, and this was actually the night that Robert Downey Jr. was announced. I was watching all the feeds live, and we were like, "Oh my goodness, it's Robert Downey Jr.!" And they were all going crazy. And then Grace Randolph, who is another YouTuber who I follow for her business discussions, was really worried about this. But she was talking about she might get the Secret Wars comic to read it herself. And I looked on Amazon, and it was like 40% off. And it's a 9-issue volume. It's a 9-issue volume of the series. I think it's a complete volume. I know that there's spin-offs, but of this actual story, it's a complete volume. And so I was like, you know what? 40% off on Amazon, it's not bad. And this was like within the hour that it was announced, and I thought there's no way they're going to keep this 40% off because everybody's going to want to buy it. And it actually did shoot up the Amazon charts after the announcement of the movie. So because of that, I purchased it, another impulse buy. It's also going to be part of my plan next year that I'm doing with comics and manga. So I'll read this sometime in 2025, and I'm excited. It should be a lot of fun. It's got some great artwork too. All right, now for the books that were sent to me by publishers. Hold the presses! So I actually forgot one book. I actually filmed the whole video, and I realized I forgot one of the books that I purchased because I was actually currently reading it, and it was on my stand next to my chair. And so I was like, oh, I need to go get it. So that is the book What's Next, a new release. It is a backstage pass to the West Wing. It's cast and crew. It's enduring legacy of service. It's written by Melissa Fitzgerald and Mary McCormick, with a foreword by Aaron Sorkin and an introduction by Allison Janney. This is talking about the West Wing TV show, which is my favorite television series of all time. I credit the West Wing and something else, which I will not talk about the other thing, but the West Wing is one of the things that got me into politics, and one of the reasons I majored in politics in college was because of the TV show. I love this TV show. I kid you not. I have watched the West Wing TV show easily 30 times all the way through, maybe more. I lost count because of how many times I watched it, and that was all in my teenage years. And as an adult, I've only watched it since I turned 20. I've watched it 2 or 3 times. But as a teenager, I watched it 20 times all the way through, or 30 times, or even maybe more. I couldn't keep count. So I've practically memorized some of the episodes. It's my favorite TV show of all time. Some of my favorite writers of all time are on this show. Some of my favorite actors. I love this show. And and I also listened to the podcast, The West Wing Weekly, which came out, which analyzed every single episode, and it was hosted by one of the actors in the show, and they brought on all the other actors. It's a great podcast. And this is a book that's like a behind-the-scenes book. And it's a long book. It's a 550-page book, but it goes really in-depth. And I'm in the middle of reading it right now. I've read about 100 pages, and I'm so stoked for it. I am so excited to read more of this book because, again, I'm learning stuff. A lot of this stuff I already knew, but a lot of it I didn't know. So that is What's Next, which I also purchased. And now let's talk about the books that I received from publishers. I had one book sent to me by an author who's self-published, and then I had 7 books sent to me by the publisher Bain. So the self-published book that was sent to me was Shamie Stovall's Time-Marked Warlock. I actually did an unboxing video. It was my first ever unboxing video that I did on the channel. So if you want to check that out, just look up Jonathan Cohn Unboxing. Anyway, and I got this book and some other stuff that was really cool from Shamie. And I plan to read this sometime by the end of the year. I don't have the specific month, but sometime by the end of the year is my plan. I was also sent Richard Fox's new book. Richard Fox will show up 3 times in this video. Men of Breton, which is his new series that he's starting. The first book is titled A Dream of Home. And this series apparently is supposed to be kind of like David Drake's novels for Bain. And it's a really short book. I think it's only 230 pages. So it's a really short novel, but I'm really excited to read it. I tried a Richard Fox book last year. Didn't really work for me, but I'm really hoping that this one will. So I'm really excited to get to this. And this was actually an advanced reader copy that they sent, which Bain's dabbling with now. Bain also sent me the mass market paperback edition of Monster Hunter Memoirs Fever that Jason Cordova did with Larry Correia. And this book was a national bestseller, and it sold a lot of copies. And I'm reading through the Monster Hunter books now. I just read the second one. Really fun books. And this one's really short, which I'm so happy about. I'm in my please make your book shorter phase. But I'm really excited to get to this one eventually. And apparently it seems like you can actually read the memoirs books out of order. So I might get to this sooner than you'd think. Let's see. I also received Howard Andrew Jones's The City of Marble and Blood. I actually have a book review of this on the channel. I got the hardcover back last year, and then they sent me the paperback that's just come out now. This series, the Hanovar series, is in my top 10 favorite fantasy series of all time, and it's ongoing. I think it's one of the only ongoing series in my top 10 because it's so good. It's so worth it. And this book, it's gorgeous. If you like the stories of Hannibal versus Rome versus Carthage, this is the book series for you. It's very classic sword and sorcery fantasy. I was also sent, funnily enough, the new trade. They're reissuing the Monster Hunter books in trade paperback, and they sent me Monster Hunter Vendetta, which is the book that I literally just read a few weeks ago. As I record this, the video should be up already or maybe soon, but it is the second Monster Hunter book, and it's a really entertaining book. I give it a thumbs up. It's a really entertaining book. So now I have this copy of it, the trade paperbacks. I was also sent this Ascent to Empire series from David Weber and Richard Fox, and the first book came out a couple years ago, and now it's got the trade paperback, and that's Governor, and that. Excuse me. And then the sequel book is coming out this month in hardcover for the first time, and that is Rebel. So this book is new, and I know that at LibertyCon, David Weber said that this was one of his most evil characters is in this book. So I'm really interested in this one too. And this is it's connected to another series, another book that he wrote, but I'm planning to read this eventually too, because I really enjoy David Weber, and I'm hoping to enjoy Richard Fox. The last book that was sent to me was Mountain of Fire by Jason Cordova. It's his first Bane book by himself. He co-authored the book with Larry Correia, Monster Hunter Fever, but this is his first book. This is part of the Black Tide Rising, which is kind of like a fun zombie type story. And first of all, I love that cover. That is how you do a cover. It's like photorealistic, but also artistic and creative. And I actually met the model. She and her family were at LibertyCon. Her father's an author. Her mother works in the business, and she was there with them, and that was cool. And this cover looks really good, and I'm really excited to read this. I've actually been talking with Jason behind the scenes, and he told me that this can be my first Black Tide Rising book to read. That it works as the first, like if you want to entry level into the series, which I'm really excited about. So those are all the books that I was purchased or received in the month of August. I'm really excited for these. It was actually a smaller book haul than the last 3 months in a row, but it was also pretty big. So if you've read any of these books, let me know what your opinions on them are. Are there any of them you're interested in reading? Let me know that as well. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.